Kimberly Stringer is the founder of Creative Kids Academy in Wichita, Kansas, a child centered, outdoor based, licensed preschool that during the COVID pandemic also expanded to include a school age program that continues to grow and flourish. I had the chance to meet Kim and visit Creative Kids and was so taken by its beauty, warmth, joyfulness, and emphasis on the value of abundant outdoor time for children. Kim Stringer, welcome to the Liberated Podcast.
Thank you.
It's great to have you here. I was just really taken by Creative Kids Academy when I visited. It's a colorful, beautiful space. Obviously, the outdoor space that you have there is really the centerpiece, but your indoor space is stunning as well. And I just would love to hear a little bit about your journey to deciding to launch first the preschool, and then we can get into how it's kind of evolved in recent years to include school age children as well. But what was your journey kind of in the early days?
So when I graduated from college in 1988, I knew that I did not want to work for the district, and I knew that I did not want to have a child care center that was over 100 children. So I went ahead and started very, very small with an early childhood education program, just preschool. That's what my degree's in. That's what I love to do so much. Well, so over the last 36 years, that's what I've done. I've taught preschool only. And because I am a different kind of a preschool, I'm definitely a hands-on preschool. And before I forget, I apologize about the camera. Something's going on with my camera. So we're a different preschool. We are a hands-on school. We use different kinds of curriculum, all kinds of different curriculum. We are a faith-based. We include Spanish and sign language in everything. So we are a trilingual school. We are mostly outside. That means 80 to 95% of our day is outside. So that's where all of my monies go, is to the great outdoors. So we grow our own vegetables, fruits. We learn about the bugs, the insects, the flowers, the plants, and worms, and the kids get to touch them. And we're just very much believe that the children need to be outside. And just over the years, as I have taught, I've just watched the detriment of the children that are sitting in the classroom hour after hour after hour. And just the depression that comes over the children, the anger, the aggression, the things like that, just because they're not getting outside. More and more teachers and programs are actually using the outside as taking that away as a punishment. If they are misbehaving in class, or they don't do an assignment, or they don't follow the rules, or they don't do something that that teacher or a director is telling them to do, they will withhold the most important part of a child's need, which is the great outdoors. So years ago, I read a book. It's called The Last Child in the Woods. And I am telling you, it has absolutely changed my whole life. And I believe so much in children being outside that we have implemented everything we have on the inside of our school, we have it outside. So we have home living outside, we have mud kitchen, we have woodworking, we have the blocks, we do all of our paperwork outside. So though people think we might be playing, we are playing, but we are learning. We're becoming engineers, and they're becoming mathematicians, and they are becoming cooks, and they're becoming every single thing they possibly could become. And they want to be outside. And even the state of Kansas, when they would come out and do their yearly surveys, they said you could easily have 30 to 40 kids out here and you would never know it, because every single child has a place to go. So you can't hear fighting, you can't hear the arguing, because if somebody's in their space, they just walk around to another space. So I have just implemented that. Um, I think my hardest thing that I have had just over the years has been getting parents to come on board, because though many, many parents absolutely love it, love the program, they don't like the messiness, and they don't want the sand, they don't want the mud, they don't want the messy clothes, they don't want, but when they come to enroll, we just tell them that's who we are and we're not going to change. So do the best we can, but we allow them, if they want to pour water for hours with cups and spoons and measurement, and we let them do it. If they want mud, if they want to include dandelions, or they want to include the grass, or they want paint, they want to add paint to their program or whatever. We are very much a philosophy that if it is not cleanable, we don't need it. So everything is cleanable, and we love it. We can see absolutely the thriving in the children. And we teach also in a different situation that not every child is on the same level. So we don't teach on the same level. So though we only have 3 teachers with 30 kids, we're trying to keep a 1 to 10 ratio. Um, every single child has their own notebook. So every child has their own curriculum. So if I see that a child has some special needs, and we do also have special needs children here, I will teach to that child. So maybe they are an auditory learner. Fine, we're going to teach you auditorily. Maybe they're a visual learner. We're going to teach that way. But all kids need hands-on, and I believe it with all my heart. And we have no screens. We are no screen TV. We don't do computers at all here. That's probably why my TV is not working. My little screen here. We are not a screen school. So anyway, the children we believe get enough of that at home, and we're just not going to have it here. We're kind of a little house on the prairie kind of a school. And when we went through COVID, this is what started the whole program. We went through COVID, and for 2 years, we had 0 cases of COVID. And we believe it is because the kids were outside so much. We also feed the kids apples every single day, morning snack and afternoon snack. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. And as I was doing some studies on some vitamins and supplements that would actually help combat some of that COVID stuff, I discovered that quercetin is found in apples, and we had no idea. Quercetin is one of the first supplements that doctors are saying to take if you start to get any kind of signs of COVID. So we were blessed. We were blessed big time. And because of that, we were getting lots and lots of calls. And we decided to expand our program from a pre-K program to a pre-K through 6th grade program. So we are now pre-K through 6th grade. During that time, there was a building we found out that was for sale that had been sitting for 2 years during COVID, and it's a doctor's building. So we've got lots of little tiny rooms around. Our biggest issue is that we were told by the fire marshal that we could take each of those little rooms and turn them into a special. And so I made an art room and a science room and a math room and a learning lab and block room and home living area. We made all of those tiny little rooms into the cutest little things. Well, then the state of Kansas came out to get us licensed for our pre-K program, and they told us we could not use those rooms. So it has been a huge dilemma in our program right now. We've got a 5,600 square foot building. And in the state of Kansas, I was told by the educational department, the Kansas Department of Education, that as long as the public school system offered to the public a preschool at age 3, we could do the same privately. We would not need a license, but that is not true. According to the state of Kansas, they are telling us we have to have a license. So I did have to go ahead and get my preschool program licensed, which means we are not able to use those classrooms. That has been very, very difficult for me. After purchasing a building and not being able to utilize all of that space. And so right now, I have been looking for any grants, possible donations, anything we can do to possibly knock out walls to be able to get those rooms licensed so that we can have more space to use.
Just frustrating.
Yeah,
These childcare licensing regulations, well-meaning, often create hurdles for education entrepreneurs who are trying to meet the needs of their learners and families, and really create sort of unnecessary headaches in a lot of
yeah.
cases, this being one of them. And I wonder, Kim, if you can talk a little more about, as you expanded to the school age program too, you also kind of ran into some issues there around regulations, but then discovered that thankfully Kansas has some really generous private school regulations for kind of K to 12 students, and so that it ended up not being a big deal. But at first it was a bit of a headache. Tell us about that.
Well, I thought, fine, we will just get the preschool program licensed and not the school age program. But they did say that if for some reason I got these 2 big classrooms, I would have to get them both licensed or either or. Because if I had 12 preschoolers in one classroom and then we got some phone calls for more, I could not move them into the larger classroom because it had not been licensed for that. So we ended up having to go ahead and get licensed for a pre-K program, a child care center with a school age program. So, but it's been very, very, very frustrating because I believe with all my heart, my school age children should be able to utilize those little classrooms. And if the state walked in at any given time and those children were in there, they could snatch that license away and take away the preschool license as well.
Mm.
We are in a really big dilemma right now. I do know that there's some laws coming through right now that's on the governor's desk right now. I don't agree with it because I definitely believe we need to keep our standards as high as possible, because then we can prove that we are just as valid as any other program. But when you lower the standards, and right now it's on the desk to lower the standard that you can now have a lead teacher at 14 to 15 years old. And I do not believe that. I've spent years of furthering my education and building the best program possible. And now they're trying to push through some programs that like smaller space for the kids. We don't need as much as like the internally you need 35 square feet per child, which I believe in. Well, now they're trying to lower that, because what has happened in the state of Kansas is they're trying so hard to find childcare, and many people are not able to find it. And so what they're trying to do is lower some of those standards, and I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to keep my standards as high as possible, but I'm also going to fight for the rights of the school age program and my own program. I think each program needs to be judged accordingly. I've got a great name in this industry, and I've worked very hard for that for 37 years. We also have a program, language arts program, where we're trying to get the children excited about writing and reading. And so we have published 6 children's books. They are on Amazon right now. Our 7th one's getting ready to go to the publisher. And it gets a fire into these children. They want to learn to read. They want to be able to do this. And all I want is more and more programs like this to be able to spread the word that involve your children in book writing, involve your children in the great outdoors, involve your children in learning sign language. They will be able to use this for years to come. And been talking a lot to some of the legislatures here in Kansas about changing some of these laws. And I'm hoping so bad that we can see some changes.
Yeah, because I think it should be easier for childcare, early childhood care providers to expand to school age programs and not have to jump through some of the hoops that you've had to
Yes.
do. If you were just running a regular private school for K to 12, you wouldn't have to run into these licensing requirements that you've had to run into with the childcare component.
Yeah.
And it seems sort of, unfair in a lot of ways and arbitrary, right, in a lot of ways too. So, glad that you're on top of that and advocating for that. And, allowing parents to choose the environment that fits best for their child. The parents can be the ones to determine the best learning environment for their kids. Certainly meeting minimum standards, as you say, but having enough flexibility to allow for that innovation and allow for the ability to use, spaces in the community, in your case, an abandoned, medical building that in creative ways. And I think that that's really important for kind of encouraging the increased supply of various education options for families. So
Yeah.
Kim, I want to talk a little bit about some of the mentoring and coaching you do with other teachers and
Mhm.
other preschool providers, and I want to talk about a couple of different things. One is sort of what are the services that you're offering to them, and the other is what are you finding in education? You've been at this for over 30 years. You kind of touched on this a little bit. What are you finding are some of the trends, for better or worse, that you're seeing in education and especially early childhood?
So, my desire has always been for the heart of the child to be able to be a child. And today, I believe that in such a big world where children are so exposed, so many adult conversations and adult themes on TV and things like that, that I have tried very hard to get the message across to build a program that is based off of the child's needs. And so I want these children to walk in and know that it's their world. It's not my world, it is their world. And I want every program to be just like that. I go on site. I will do it for free. I will go on site and give ideas on how to build an outdoor program. And then I also got okayed certified through the state of Kansas to teach a singing your way through circle time, and then also an outdoor classroom. So I actually go on site to different programs, different centers, but I also teach at conferences. I'm getting ready to teach one in June. The last conference, I think we had about 150 teachers in that class. And I actually brought my children on board that I'm getting ready in June, because many teachers don't believe in circle time any longer. The early childhood programs that I'm really, really sad about, they want a total play only based program. They do not want any paperwork, no fine motor, none of that stuff. And I do not believe in that. We do our circle time is between 45 minutes to an hour. We incorporate dance and singing and yoga stretches, and we include continents and finger plays and all kinds of things. And by the end of the year, these children know 26 Bible verses, one for every letter of the alphabet. They know sign language, they know Spanish, they know the continents, they know all the way through from 2.5 years old all the way up. And so what I do is I bring that program in and prove to these teachers that these 12, 15 children are going to show you they can last a 45-minute circle time, and how much value that there is in that. And then that I will absolutely go on site anywhere. And I want more than anything also for us to try to find the funding, because that is huge for these programs. They may want an outdoor program. They may want it so badly, but maybe they don't have the money for shading. Maybe there's no money for the outdoor grasses or the outdoor things. I've been shopping for years, and I've got 37 years of a lot of resources in here, and so a lot of the times, like what I've just recently done is had somebody come in and start dividing up all of my resources and manipulatives that I've had, so that I can start chopping those in half and sharing those with other centers that don't have any, because there's enough centers out there that the monies are just not there. And I think that's our number one deterrent for quality programs is the monies that we do get. Like, there have been some grants that have come that we have been so blessed with. Well, I'm using those for taxes. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have to use those for the bookkeeping or the taxes for our staff. And so we're not able to actually put back into the kids a lot of the times. It has to go into just running the actual business. But my goal is that we could all teachers come together and help one another. Like, there's many programs like here. I know you visited Candace's program. Oh my word, I love walking into her very front room. It's just so inviting, and it's just warm. And you know that they are really educating those children. They have a great program because they do more of a homeschool kind of a feel too. And that's kind of our line too. We do the Montessori Reggio Emilia philosophy. I don't know if you know much about that, but love Reggio. And they kind of have that same kind of a feel. So I love sharing ideas with her, and she can come over here. We share kids or different programs throughout the city, Molly, things like that. So I believe in collaboration. And I think that Wichita, Kansas is doing a fabulous job at collaborating, with one another and sharing great ideas.
It really is. It's so exciting to spend time in Wichita and to see the magnitude of education, entrepreneurship, and innovation sprouting there. You mentioned Candace Fish at Freedom Prep, who I've had on the podcast, who was a former public school teacher and ended up creating what she thought was going to be a micro school, but ended up opening with over 130 kids.
I don't know how she does it. I do not. I was like, no.
And then you mentioned Molly and Noah Stevenson, who run the Wildflower Community School, which is a micro school for neurodiverse students, also in Wichita. So, Kim, did you ever think that you would expand into the school age population the way Candace and Molly and Noah did, or did that just happen as a result of the COVID disruption?
No, I think that they are reaching a clientele that is so powerful. And I love that they are doing that. That's their passion and that's their love. My love is the early childhood industry. And so I want to get them at age 2.5. And what my goal is to keep those kids and that they just actually grow together. So right now we only have ages 2.5 through second grade. So what we're doing is we're just going to move all together, and it's wonderful because they're all growing together. I don't know what's going to happen in the future. These children don't want to leave in middle school. And so possibly if we could get some grants and donations, we might be able to add on to the school and have a middle school wing. And then I'll have to hire someone on because That is not my passion.
But this was relatively new for you, really, since COVID, that you even stayed beyond kindergarten. What was happening? Why parents were saying, "Kim, please, keep going. We don't want
I think it's
kindergarten for the
because
kids
of
to go
my
elsewhere."
I think it's my passion for children and the home life, and my passion for the great outside, the great outdoors, and very, very staunch believer in kids being outside and not inside. And why not be outside? Why not get their gross motor and fine motor outside? Why do we have to stay inside sitting at a desk or even just sitting at a table inside? Why? That doesn't make any sense at all to me. We were children and we got to experience that. We got to be outside hours at a time. And it's no different here. We're outside hours. The parents will always find us outside when they come to get them. Always. I mean, it is, unless it is, even when it's snowing, we were able to make snow ice cream. We're outside. When it's raining, we put up all the umbrellas. We're outside. When it's, you know, there's there is no wrong weather. There's wrong clothing. We can just layer and start, taking that off as we need to. But I think that that's what it is feeling so sad for these parents who felt like they were stuck. They had no other choice and they want a quality program. Many of them cannot afford it. We became a 501c3 because my goal is to give every single child the same education that they're trying to do in public school system. They're free in public school. I think they pay $100 enrollment fee. Well, that's what I want from us. If I can get grants, if I can get enough donations, I want these children to be able to come for free. When I started and became a 501c3, my heart was for the single parent. I thought, well, we are going to be able to reach all the single parents first. We will try to get those single parent scholarships. Well, when I was going over the roster one day, I discovered that 26 out of the 30 kids enrolled are single parent family homes. So my goal is why can't they have a quality program? My father walked away when I was one. And so my mom was a single mom of 4 kids. And she would have loved to have had a program and been able to afford something like this for 4 children. Well, that's what I want to give to this community. We are in a lower geographic demographic area. And so there are some poor children in this area. Why can't they have the same? Why can't they have the same wonderful experiences that other kids can just because they don't have the money? So that's my goal, is to try to raise as much money and funding as I possibly can. That everyone that walks in here that believes in our program, then they get to come for free.
Tell us about one particularly inspiring fundraising story that I know you shared with me, Kim, about a time when you were, particularly looking for additional funding so that you could maintain your operations and cover expenses, and, as you said, provide for these low income families to attend. And you ended up writing a letter randomly to someone in your community. Tell us about
So
that.
we had a parent here who I was just talking to her about needing some donations because we were almost to the point we would have to close. We bought the building in February and we still were not open in August because of all of the city and the county and the fire marshal and the licensing. It was very, very difficult. And I was still working out of my garage in the home. And so my coworker and I were working over there, but every penny I was making was paying her or trying to sustain the school. And we just couldn't do it anymore. And I was to the point where I thought, I just redid this whole building and I think I'm going to have to sell it because I can't make another payment. And she said, well, why don't you just write out some letters for donations? And she gave me her boss's name. And he's a local man here and loves to bless other people with schools or anything that has to do with education. I had never met this man before, didn't know who he was. So I just hand wrote out a card, told him who I was, told him what my program was, and I sent some pictures of the kids. And about 4 days later, see, I'm going to start crying. It's been a year, but we got a very large check in the mail that saved my business. And I will forever be grateful to that man. So grateful that we wrote a children's book about him called The Treasure, and it will actually be our next book coming out on Amazon. So And there's many, many people out there that want to bless schools, that want to bless people like this. We as educators need to try to find who those people are, to invite those people into our program so they can actually see what we do. I think if more and more people would open up their doors and say, come on in, come see firsthand what we do, I think more and more people would be apt to be able to bless schools, to be able to say, hey, let me help you conquer this. Let me help reach that life of a child, or sponsor a child this month, or be able to do, whatever they possibly can. And so that's what I'm doing now. Is it's hard when I'm teaching full time and running a whole business to try to find grants or to try to find some donors and things like that. But we do know that for that time, at such a time as this, that man came along and he blessed us immensely.
Ah, just incredible. And you talked a little bit about this earlier, Kim, but your program is, fully integrated. You have students with significant special needs, along with kind of general education students. But because of your individualized learning model and the fact that you treat each child with a kind of a personal learning plan, it doesn't matter if they have learning differences or not, that they're really all treated as individuals and respected in that way. Was that intentional, or did that just sort of evolve with time for you?
The special needs kids that came to us in the beginning might have been behavioral problems, but they diminished almost immediately being outside, almost immediately. Then we had a little boy that came to us, little Harlan, and I can never remember the name of his condition. It's a very long name, but he was born and he's got a rather large head and lots of learning disabilities. But he came to us, his balance was off, and just being outside a lot. He came to us for a summer program. Just being outside a lot, we could see major, major differences in him just by the end of the summer. And when the grandma came to us and asked if he could please stay for the school year, that the other program in the public school setting was not working for him in the special needs classroom, um, we brought him on, and he's been with us now 2.5 years. And I am telling you, the growth has been unreal. And then we had another little girl that came to us with Down syndrome, and we've got a couple of them with ADHD and learning disabilities and just all kinds of things. But I'm telling you, I can actually prove the differences in every one of these children by being outside. Every single one by being outside in the great outdoors, hearing the birds, walking, the gross motor, the sand, the different sensory things that many, many children have really a lot of issues with. We offer sand, we offer mud and dirt and cement and fake grass and real grass and gardening. And we just hatched our chickens, our little chickens. We now have little baby chickens, and learning all about just nature, how to sustain yourself, growing your own food. It is reaching every child, no matter the disability, no matter. It can reach every single person.
So it's pretty profound, Kim, that you said that you have students coming to you with behavioral issues that disappear almost immediately when they're in your program. I mean, that's really remarkable. What do you think conventional schools could or should do differently to make sure that these students are, treated with as much of this kind of freedom, autonomy, space, and time that enables them to kind of overcome what are considered, destructive or disobedient conditions in a
Yeah.
conventional classroom?
So I think first and foremost that the parents need to make it very aware the needs of that child. The teacher then needs to go to the Board of Education and fight like crazy for outside time. They have a 15-minute slot in the morning, a 15-minute in the afternoon. They are literally now here in the state of Kansas, it's like this. Every single public school is like this now, from pre-K all the way up. They are on iPads. They're not even doing handwriting, cursive writing, things like that. We teach cursive writing starting in kindergarten, and we do it outside. We do it outside. They are not outside. They can't eat outside picnic lunches. They are stuck at a lunch table for like 16 minutes. I think that they're rushing through lunches. They're not able to talk at the lunch table. They're not able to talk in the hallways. They're not able to communicate. And yet these teachers are so frustrated with behaviors of the children. Even Harlan, when he was in the public school district, he would throw a fit and start throwing around chairs, and they would all have to leave the classroom because of the behavior and leave him sitting in there. They can't touch him, they can't bring him up and like say, no, thank you, sir. We're not going to act like that, and pull him up or talk to him or like help him up. They can't even touch him in the public school system. They're not allowed to do any of that, to say, hey, let's go outside. Let's go ride one of those bikes really, really fast so you can move those legs and get that energy out. Or let's go swing. Swinging is one of the first things that every single child needs to do in the morning, just to swing. It is so calming. It is so calming. And I think every parent and every teacher needs to get together, and they need to go straight to the board, and they need to go straight to Senate and Congress, do everything in their power to fight for the child. And this last week, it's ironic that we're having this meeting, was the week of the young child. It is known nationally as the week of the young child. How are we proving that it's really that we value the young child? We're not. In the public school system, we are not telling those children that we value them by sticking them in a desk and sticking them all day long in a sunless room and pulling down shades. And it's depressing. I get very, very depressed walking into classrooms in public school systems.
Yeah, and it's really, I think, gotten a lot worse over the last few decades with sort of more test-driven learning,
Yes.
more standardized curriculum. Some places have taken away recess, like you said, shortened lunches. So even, in one generation, there's much more sort of play deprivation and outdoor deprivation. There's less time that children have to spend in nature or free, unstructured time after school. That's disappeared in a lot of places. And so I think you're right. It's really up to parents to prioritize that and hopefully to find more settings like yours where their children can flourish. And that maybe is a good place for us to begin to wrap up. Kim, what do you see as the future of these sort of innovative entrepreneurial education models in Wichita? It's really becoming a cluster of innovation and learning.
I see success. I was so happy the other day. I started driving around and just looking at all of the little schools that are popping up. And I am so excited because every single school has something to offer. So maybe some parent may go to Candace's school or Molly's school and say, this is perfect. This is absolutely great. Maybe they'll come to mine and say, it's just not going to work for me because I want them on the computer or I want them to sit at a desk. That is okay. That's absolutely okay. But I believe in school choice. And I believe that we need to fight like crazy for school choice. But here in Wichita, Kansas, I think the word is really, really getting out. And Delina has had a lot to do with that. She is doing a fabulous job with the support that she has given to all of us, as you have. I mean, you have you're keeping this on the front line. We are not sitting on the bench. We're playing in the game. And I am so grateful for that we are not fans, that we are actually members of the team, and we are each a member of the team of education and the team of child. We're like team child. And I am so excited for the growth that's happening here in Wichita. And I just believe it's just going to get bigger and better. I do.
I think you're right. And I would say that not just team members, you're really the team leaders. I mean, I think Wichita is really a beacon for education entrepreneurs elsewhere to show what's possible when you have community support and energy and collaboration, as you said, among different education entrepreneurs. Like you mentioned, there's different models represented in Wichita, but that's perfect because means there's something for everyone. And a parent can choose really what is the educational philosophy or approach that works for them, and may choose different approaches for different children, even within their family, which I think we see in Wichita and elsewhere too. And yes, you mentioned Delina Wallace, who's been on this podcast, and the group WISE, Wichita Innovative Schools and Educators. That's really a grassroots effort to bring education entrepreneurs like you together with others in your community, realizing that you can do more as a group in supporting each other than any of you can do individually. And it's just great to see what's happening there. I think you're right. Success is the word. And it's just wonderful to see the growth that you've had there just in the past year, and exciting to see what's happening in the future. So Kim, if my listeners and viewers want to connect with you and learn more about Creative Kids Academy, what is the best way for them to do that?
If you just want to call, because right now I have someone creating our new website. So right now the best way is just to call Kimberly Stringer at 316-303-4541.
Kim Stringer, thank you again for being
Thank you
on
so
the
much.
Liberated podcast.
Thank you. Have a great day.